Mark 4:35. On that day, when evening came, he said to them, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And there arose a fierce gale of wind, and the waves were breaking over the boat, so much that the boat was already filling up. Jesus himself was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he got up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Hush, be still." And the wind died down and it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? How is it that you have no faith?" They became very much afraid and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Take it from me, preaching for 20 minutes can be exhausting. Jesus, just prior to this, has been teaching all day. And so he gets into the boat and falls into a deep and well-deserved sleep. Suddenly a storm sweeps down on the Sea of Galilee. No doubt you've heard how the topography of the area is conducive to sudden storms, severe storms, that catch even experienced fishermen by surprise. Mark calls it a whirlwind. Matthew calls it a seismos, like a sea quake. These veteran seamen are afraid for their lives, and they call out to Jesus, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" It sounds like a rebuke. It sounds like they're scolding him for sleeping while they're battling the storm on their own. It reminds me a little of what Mary and Martha said to Jesus when their brother Lazarus died. "Jesus, if only you had been here, our brother would not have died." I'm sure you've never scolded God when he sends a storm into your life, have you? You've never complained, "Why is this happening to me? Where are you, God? Why don't you do something? Don't you care that I'm perishing?" Of course you have. Me too. There are those who would tell us, and they're dead wrong, that storms come into our lives when we are out of God's will, when we're disobedient. If only we would live in obedience and trust, then everything would be calm sailing, and we would enjoy peace and health and prosperity. But read again verse 35. On that day when evening came, he said to them, "Let us go over to the other side." They were being obedient. They were doing exactly what Jesus told them to do. Your storms may not be because you're out of the will of God. He may send them precisely because you're doing his will. I wonder what he might teach us through that storm. Matthew records that they pleaded, "Save us." They must have realized that Jesus had the ability to save them, and not just by bailing water. All of us are going through a storm of some kind or another today. If you are alive, you are rowing frantically through the whirlwind or through a seaquake of some sort. Go ahead and cry out to Jesus. He can take it. He can take your complaint. And ask him to save you. He may, or he may not, bring a miraculous calming of your storm. But whether he does or not, he can provide a calming of your spirit in the storm.